welcome to the Real Estate Pro Radio Show. I'm your host, Amber Arms, and we have with us today Demi Grida from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Hey, Demi, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. It's wonderful Thursday afternoon here. Definitely enjoying the wonderful weather now that it's finally starting to cool off down here. How's it up there for you in Allentown?
Yes, it's just been sunny all week. I don't see any rain in the forecast, so hopefully that stays away. And if I could have summer year-round, I'd love that here too in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, summer's definitely nice. I'm more of a fall winter person myself because I like the cold temperatures. I'm a little bit weird like that, but you know, it's always nice when you get that kind of in between season stage. You can kind of see it transition between the two, especially with like, you know, summer to fall or spring into summer, because all the colors start changing, and it's always really
oh my
nice
God, it's
to
so
see
beautiful.
Things. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, fall's definitely, and all the activities too, like pumpkin picking, everything. I'm a big fan of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we've been doing a ton of walking, and we got a puppy not too long ago. So, you know, she has boundless energy, and she's absolutely loving the outdoors right now. So, you know, it's absolute blast. So, you know, Demi, tell me a little bit about yourself. You know, what do you like to do, you know, when you're not doing the whole real estate thing? You know, what kind of hobbies and stuff do you think that you really enjoy and that kind of stuff?
So I have a family. I have a daughter and a son, Vincent and Gianna. My son is 6 years old and my daughter's 1. So I'm very, very busy, you know, just kind of maintaining the household and family there. But really, I am anything sunny, beach kind of girl. Anything by water kind of is my go-to, kind of mellows me out and keeps me sane.
Completely understandable. Sounds like a busy life. You know, you got 2 kids under the age of 6, plus the whole real estate thing. Sounds like it definitely keeps you busy there.
Yes, it's nonstop, but definitely worth it. I used to work in human resources for 9 years. So,
oh, goodness.
So it helped me out with the negotiation side of real estate, especially just being able to deal with a lot of, you know, different situations and problems that might arise, and being able to put out fires, and kind of, you know, being able to relate with everyone and know how to deal with different personalities and situations. So.
Oh, 100%. You know, real estate's such a people business, so I can definitely see how that experience would definitely help going into it.
Yeah, and I left human resources because it kind of turned into a business, like for the business only type atmosphere, protect, you know, the dollar only. So I was getting really, you know, upset and discouraged and wanted to kind of move into real estate for a few years now. My grandpa was in real estate his entire career, so I had been around it as a child and my whole life growing up. So yeah, I just finally made the jump, only about, you know, a few months ago. So it's been great so far. I've had 4 houses under contract. One of them closed last week, and I have a closing tomorrow. So it's been awesome.
That's wonderful. So you're still fairly new to the real estate industry. You've only been in it a couple months. You know, how was it, you know, what was it like actually going through the process of starting? You know, a lot of the people I talk to have been in it for a long time. You know, what you think might have been different now that you're coming into like a post-pandemic type of industry now? You know, what do you think is different there?
So I do appreciate, you know, going into the industry in one of the roughest times, because how are you going to learn, right? You'll learn the most when the market is very crazy. So you're even in my first transaction, pretty much there were a lot of hiccups, a lot of problems behind the scenes, but I learned what to do in that situation, how to kind of deal with this problem and that problem. So I appreciate, you know, when things are rough. It only teaches you what you need to know. And it makes you a better realtor. So if you can't work through, you know, the hard times, then how are you going to get, you know, through anything really?
Well, 100%. And also, if you're coming in under the tougher situation, yeah, you learn a bunch, but also, it's just uphill from there, right? I mean, if you already got past the hard part, it only gets easier from there. So, you definitely got the business under wraps then if you can get through the tough part.
Yeah, and I'm just constantly trying to like absorb everything and be a sponge, and learn every single day. So
Well, yeah,
yeah,
I'm not in the real estate part of it. I'm not an agent. I'm an insurance agent, right? So it's a little bit different, but it's largely the same. It's a huge people business, and there's a lot of just experience that comes from running in the business and things that you learn on the day to day. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from on, just every day you're learning something new. Every house that you sell, every house that you walk into to do an open house, it's just every situation is different. So you're always learning something, right? Whether you're learning it from the client, you're learning it from a mentor figure, you're learning it just from doing the actual paperwork side of things. There's always something new about each situation. That's kind of what I enjoy about the industry, is that no day is the same, right? You got a lot of variety. You're definitely not going to get bored in this business.
Yes, and to be a good agent, you have to learn all the different loans, right? So, something I appreciated is my very first transaction, was a VA loan. So I was able to learn the stipulations of those, and then I had an FHA and your conventional. So it's nice not just being stuck into your typical, one route conventional type loan. So
yeah, 100%. You get to learn different. You get to learn different situations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and over time you feel better equipped too. You've seen it before, and then when it comes up the next time, you're like, okay, yep, I've done this before. I know how this works. You got that confidence built up because you know what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that it's kind of hard to say because, who can really tell the future? But, we've been having an interesting industry market over the past couple years, to say the least. What do you think that we're looking for, or that we're looking at in the future here as we go into, really the second half of 2022 and even the beginning of 2023? What do you think might change, or as the market continues to develop?
So you can't, obviously you can't predict the future, like you said, but I do see, it stabilizing right now. Not every house is going to be a competition of, multiple offers, like it was for the past 2 years, and crazy, 20K over asking price type situations or more. But, it's still a very hot market right now. And obviously we cannot predict the future. We don't know if it's going to stay, on a stable middle line market, which I see it moving towards, but it kind of switched the other way. So who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody can know for sure. Even people who've been in the business for 20 plus years, you can never say with certainty unless you have a crystal ball that you can look into. And I think that I probably agree with you. It definitely feels like that it's going into, the stabilization right now that they've raised the rates with the federal rates. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how things develop, and maybe we'll go into even a seller's market at some point here, because generally this stuff is very cyclical, or it goes in cycles.
Yes, exactly. And I'd say if you are looking to buy, don't let the interest rates kind of scare you, because what do? You marry the house, right? You marry the house and you kind of date the rate. You shouldn't let the rate kind of scare you away from buying a house, because you never know if it keeps picking up, and now you're kind of stuck with, say, a 10% interest rate. And yes, you can refinance after 6-7 months, but you kind of just have to take it as is and go with it. Back in like the 80s, 90s, I would be speaking with my grandson. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, the interest rates are once like 15%." I'm like, "What?" So for people to shy away, at a 5 or 6, just know you're not going to always be locked into that. And there are other programs that you could do, to bring the interest rate down too, as a buyer. So there's ways
there's
of
options
working with
available,
it.
And yeah, like
Yes.
you said, it used to be a lot higher. It used to be double digits. So it's really insane when you think about it. It seems so high because it's been low for so long, and it was artificially low for a couple of years over the pandemic. So, now that it's kind of not being artificially adjusted, obviously it's going to come more to an equilibrium. But, even so, it's still a pretty low interest rate compared to what we've had in the past.
Yeah, exactly. And you always have that option. You have the option to refinance. As a buyer, going into home, there are a couple things that you could do to bring the interest rate down too, like discount points and things of that nature. So yeah, like don't let things scare you. Going into real estate, it's always going to be a risk, right? But it's definitely a risk worth taking because you're going to be owning that property. It's going to be your asset. You're going to be making equity on it. I mean, the rental market is insane right now. Just as crazy,
100%.
just as high. Yeah, just as high to rent a property that isn't yours in by any means, with having mortgage. So the same kind of price there.
Yeah, I mean, usually historically rent is lower than having a mortgage, but it's definitely been raised a bit over the course of the pandemic. The prices have been raising, so for some people it makes sense not even to rent. It might even be cheaper just to go for a straight mortgage on a house. So you really have to kind of look at the numbers and see what makes sense for each person in their area. Obviously it changes a bit depending on where they are in their situation, but it's definitely been readjusted a bit over the past couple of years, I think.
Yeah, it's been ticking upwards, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is so unfair to the renters. So
yeah, I think it's going to be interesting also to see how quickly we kind of adjust from the shortage that really happened over the course of the pandemic, because there was a huge labor shortage. There was a huge material shortage for a while there. So, it's going to take a while for us to be able to really catch up on that, because houses aren't built overnight. They're a several month project. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly, the inventory and stock can really kind of recover and kind of build up, since we burned through a bunch of it over the past year or so. It's really going to be interesting to see how that kind of changes things going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I was speaking with one of the new construction developers, and he's like, yeah, it costs X amount of money to put this piece into the house pre-pandemic, and now it's 4 times the amount, and we can't get it for 6 months. So I'm like, wow, holy moly.
It's absolutely crazy. I know that when I do people's I essentially requote their insurance when they come up for renewal, because I'm an independent agent. And it's always interesting seeing the requotes for people, because they'll always put a estimate of, how much they think it's going to cost for the house to be rebuilt. And even just the difference of a couple of months has made a huge impact on how much that can vary. I'm seeing houses that are being quoted $100,000 or $200,000 over what people paid for it, or what it was quoted for a year ago, just because of how much the cost of labor materials have gone up just because of the shortage of it. It's absolutely insane seeing it. I think I saw one house where it was actually even, I think, $400,000 over what it cost them to buy the house, because the materials it was made out of, it was made out of solid brick or something. And brick was extremely difficult to source in their area. So, the cost was insanely high. And it's crazy. It's going to be interesting to see how much that changes for people just across the board over the next couple of years as we recover.
Things have to eventually, come down at some point. So we shall see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we shall see. That's something that isn't going to change overnight, but I know that people are working on trying to get that back up to the levels that it used to be. So it'll definitely be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. You just came into the real estate industry. What would you say is your favorite part of it so far? What do you enjoy the most?
I absolutely enjoy working with people, buyers right now and sellers as well, to try and find their perfect home. I'd say like I just love matching the home to the person.
Hmm.
I love kind of going on the hunt and finding, what exactly they're looking for, even with a low inventory. I love a challenge. I thrive off a challenge. So if you tell me, you have this budget and this many beds and baths and you can't find it with someone else, I'll be sure to find it for you. Don't you worry. So that's something that I think has kind of moved from my previous career, and transitioned nicely into real estate. Is just I've always really, really, truly loved to help people, and make sure they are taken care of. And my degree too is in communications and marketing. So the number one thing with me in any relationship is communication. I'm very
Hmm.
transparent with my clients. I walk them through every step of the way. You want to send me, a text, a call, an email, I'm getting back to you within 2 hours max. I don't care what's going on. I'll make it happen. I'll get back to you so you're not worried about anything.
Well, it's
That's
definitely a
something.
benefit for sure. It's buying a house is very stressful for most people. It's the largest investment they're
Yes,
ever going to make usually.
yes,
So, just that communication, I'm sure, goes a long way for people when you're working with them, because it is
yeah, absolutely.
stressful.
You need to be there for them because there's so many steps along the way, and there's the worrying and the anxiety when you're not hearing back from your agent. So I want
Hmm.
to be, my values are I will get back to you, and if you have a problem, I'm going to figure it out for you, and I'm going to let you know, like, hey, if there's a hiccup and I'm still working on it, I'll let you know so you're not, in the dust hanging. So yeah, it's been great. In real estate, I wish I had made the jump sooner, rather than later. But I've heard that a
I feel
lot.
like
So
a lot of people kind of feel the same way. A lot of people that I talk to where they've transitioned from one industry to another, people are really nervous, I think, about changing their whole career path and taking that risk. But, most people, when they actually do make the adjustment and the switch, they'll figure out pretty quickly whether or not it's for them. Most of the people I talk to that are in real estate seem to enjoy it pretty well. It's definitely a passion industry. It's definitely something that has a lot more work behind it than I think most people realize when they're,
oh
picking
gosh,
out their
yes.
agent.
Oh my gosh.
It's definitely not a 9 to 5 type of job, right? You have to be
No.
on call. You have to be willing to, work around your clients and their, time schedules. Most of the time you're probably working after, 6 p.m. because most people are working during the day. Like, it's
Yes.
definitely a lot more work than most people realize. So it really is a passion industry to be into. But if you do well at it, you can also make some pretty good money at it as well. So I think it's one of those sweet spot industries for people, that they should give it a shot if they think that they're going to enjoy it.
Yes, and it's very very much worth it. Like, the amount of work that you're doing is for someone getting their house, right? Like, it's
It's a good
the
cause.
it's gonna sound cliche, but it's the American dream. So, um, I feel much better helping consumers purchase their home than the situations that I was dealing with in the past. So it's really been like a blessing, and I'm just loving it.
Well, really changes, who you're doing the work for, right? Like, as you said before, in the job you were in before, it was very much, in the benefit of the company you were working for, and that was the major person that, your efforts were benefiting. With real estate, you're not working for someone else per se. You're helping, a couple or, just a person even find the house that works for them and their situation, because every situation is different. Everybody needs, different criteria for their house. Somebody might need to have an office. Somebody might need to have a small place. Somebody might need to have
Yeah.
space to expand their family. It changes. But the effort and time that you're putting in is benefiting your client rather than, some corporation that is just worried about making money. It just
The
feels
bottom
different.
line, yes. Just worried about that bottom line. So it's been great. being able, because I've always been told that I'm very good with listening to people's needs and really becoming them, right? You have to become your client. Think
Yep.
of yourself as, Sally Q, right? Put yourself in Sally Q's shoes. She needs to have that house in Bethlehem with a yard fenced in for her 2 dogs. And, maybe she's got a cat too, and it needs to have this hardwood floor. So all these minor details that, people might look past, I always hone in. I'm writing down. I'm making sure, like, I'm remembering, because this is your home. This is somewhere you're going to be spending a lot of time for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
So, I
and
make
in
sure
the
that
negotiation too, you have to be a good advocate for them too. If there's problems with the house, especially with the negotiation stage of it, making sure that they're not going to get in a situation where they're buying a house with $15,000 of work that they can't handle. It's just
yes,
you have to be a really good advocate for them.
Absolutely. In the past, I dealt very heavily with employee relations situations. So some heated problems that needed to be, worked through nonstop. So in the negotiation side, I'm very comfortable in real estate. So that's something that has seamlessly transitioned from HR into real estate, is being able to win that offer, right? Because it's still a very competitive market. You have to have a very strong offer to even get the house. So
Yep.
I coach my clients on what's going to happen and what situations might arise and how I'm going to battle those fires out for you. You're not going to be in there with me. I'm here to work for you. So it's been great.
That's absolutely amazing. This episode is brought to you by We Insure Center of Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. With access to over 200 carriers, We Insure is ready to service all of your insurance needs for home, auto, business, life, and more. Simply call 484-207-6640. Again, that's 484-207-6640, or visit WeInsureCenter.com. Get your free quote today. What would you say is, the most difficult part of the industry, you think, that has been just tricky to adjust to, even just hard to start working with?
I would say for me, it's not being stuck to a desk, right? I was usually like a 9 to 5, probably like a 9 to 6 type of employee. And now I have to get out of that corporate mentality of reporting to somebody and letting them know, like, things that are going down. My coworkers they laugh at me. They're like, Demi, you do not have to tell me that you're like working from home today. You're working for yourself. So it's been interesting because I'm just used to working for a corporation. So I have to kind of be like, no, like, if I need to leave the office now, and there's a situation, I'm not going to, be in trouble. This is my business. And then I can make up for that work later on at night, which I have been doing. It's great. So that's something that has been a big adjustment for me, because I've just been used to, the corporate schedule.
Yeah, especially if you're used to doing it one way for so long, and then it's a huge adjustment. It's just getting used to not having to be accountable to, somebody else in the office, or, just being used to being able to flip stuff around in your schedule. I can definitely see how that might be quite a bit to get used to. My mom's a real estate agent, and we've been involved with real estate for a long time. So, I kind of seen some of those back sides of things, the things that people don't see when they hire a real estate agent. So I could definitely see how that might be a bit of a learning curve and adjustment for people to get used to.
Yeah. It's just, you're used to it. It's like repetitive nature. So it's been funny that some of the things that I'm telling my coworkers, they're like, oh no, you're fine. You don't have to, tell me that you're not going to be here on that day. I know you're at home and, working at home. So it's just funny. That's been kind of my biggest transition.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll adjust quickly, though. In a couple months, you'll be used to it, and it won't be a big deal anymore. It's always interesting, though, seeing, different things that people, really see that's different. And
Yeah, yeah.
you mentioned that you're working at an agency right now. What would you say between you and your other coworkers is a good thing that people should be looking for in a real estate agent? Like if you had to give them one thing that they should be looking for when finding a good agent to work with, what would you say is that one quality that above all is the most important?
Oh man, so hard to pick one. I
Yeah,
would say,
absolutely.
yeah. So I would say I would kind of bundle them together because uh, for me, it's somebody that's going to listen to what you need and then go to bat for you. Is going to be able to get that house for you. Is going to do the work. Isn't going to be lazy on anything for you. Is actually going to be working for you to get your dream home as soon as possible for you.
Really
So you just got to,
advocacy, right? Being able to
yeah,
basically take what your client needs, package it all together, and make it happen. Being
yes,
able to
and
be
make it
willing to put
happen
that effort in.
because do you want to be working with an agent that you're going to be running around town and losing out on, 6, 10, 15 offers because they don't really care. They're very laxy. Like I value myself on if you're going to work with me, do not worry. We'll be able to wrap this up. I'm very transparent with my clients too. When they tell me their needs, so we start from there, and then we kind of go and uh, continue the search, or open up the search too. Like if their budget is too low for a specific area, I'm very transparent with them, and I say, hey, it's too low for ABC town, but right over here, a couple miles away, these are the homes that I can show you that will work with your budget. So just being very transparent with people is another big thing. Not letting people believe that they can get something that doesn't exist. If you get where I'm going there.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely understand what you mean. Just being, realistic, I think. Just communicating what is possible. You might be able to find that dream home for, X number of dollars, but in general, there's a pretty straightforward, I guess, kind of formula, so to speak, of what you can expect to get at different price ranges depending on the area. So, I can definitely see how some people might have unrealistic expectations, but, it's definitely something that if you have good communication with your client that you can kind of work around, as you said. Sometimes there's a place that's just a couple of miles over or even maybe a couple blocks, depending on what, city you're working in. It can really change a little bit.
Open up,
Just
yeah,
even
it can
just
open
on
up
the
your
street.
your world. Yeah, exactly. Like it can open up your world. So that's how I work with my clients is if they're looking for a specific thing, I'm very transparent and say, hey, you might not find it in ABC town that you love and you want to hone in on, but hey, over in the next town, look at these homes. I'm going to email them over to you. Look at what you can get for your money here.
Yeah,
So,
give them options
I
to make
always,
an educated decision.
yeah, I always want to find a solution for you. It might not be what you initially thought, but I'm always going to find you a solution some way, somehow.
Absolutely. And going into solutions, nice segue here. What would you say is the number one, I guess, obstacle that your clients are facing in today's market? I guess you talked about before about how it's a really hot market before, but now we're kind of coming into a bit more of an equilibrium. So, has the obstacle stayed the same or has it changed? Like what is right now the biggest obstacle for them to have to face?
So far, what I've seen is just being very transparent with your clients and letting them know, how the market is, how quick or how slow we can be, and walking them through that process. Because maybe back in 2015, 2016, you could have sat in a house and you could have gone home and you could have waited a couple of days and made your decision. But that's not the market we're in now. So if you really want to, get an offering on this home, you kind of still have to be relatively quick. So just being very open about that situation going on right now. Now, it's going to change eventually. Um, but with my clients, it's just making sure they know what they're getting into and being a very realistic realtor.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And, it's tough because it's a big investment for them to have to make, but especially in right now what the market is, they kind of have to make a decision a little bit sooner than some people may like. You might have to make it same day. You might have to make it within a couple of hours of seeing the house. I mean, obviously you probably don't have to make them, during the open house while you're still there, because that's what it was at one point here. But,
yeah.
Like you said, it's really tough to be able to sit on a house unless it's like truly not, the ideal for the area. Maybe there's something wrong with it. You kind of have to work on it still fairly quickly.
Yes, and it's funny because I don't know if I'm a fan of TikTok, but you see some of those like exaggerated TikTok videos where they're like, oh, 2 hours later, the house is gone. That's seriously exaggerated. So those are just, out there to give everyone a laugh, but it's not that fast.
Especially with, that's what it was at the peak during 2021. 2020, I feel like it was really quiet because everybody was super nervous about doing something during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then all that demand was kind of pent up. And in 2021, it exploded. Everyone was like, okay, yep, I'm ready to move. I've been holding off for a whole year now. It's the time. And then we just had this explosion of buyer desire almost to have to move that year. And, my dad on the other side, we're all in real estate. It's funny. He's a property inspector. And,
awesome.
some of the houses that he went into, they would, if it was a nice house in a nice area, it would have 30 offers on it within like a couple hours of being live. People aren't even walking into the house to see it, and it already had like 30, 40 offers on it. At the peak, it was definitely quite insane, I would say. So, that TikTok, it definitely had some idea of a time when that actually was the case. Thankfully, I don't think we're at that stage anymore because that wasn't super healthy for people. But, it is fascinating to look back at it and say, wow, that actually happened. That's crazy.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of friends in real estate, and they were telling me about it. They're like, Demi, get your license now, And she was like, houses have like 20, 30, 40 offers, and there's just nonstop right number offers. I'm like, sounds insane.
Yeah, absolutely. The buyer's agents were definitely working on overtime that year, I think, just to be able to get a house for people. You had to they essentially set up like 10 offers to actually get one to actually go through just because of how many options there were.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was insane. Absolutely. And then, I know that a lot of people have seen, TV series like on HGTV, like House Hunters and everything like that. What would you say is the biggest maybe misconception people have had coming into, buying their first house or buying maybe their second house? Just maybe they don't have a lot of experience with the process. What's the biggest misconception you've seen from people as far as the process and how it works?
So I'm not a fan of reality TV because it's not reality, right?
Yeah,
at all.
It's
the
scripted.
furthest thing. Oh my gosh, the furthest thing. So it's fun to watch, right? So they're fun to watch. It might be in a beautiful setting. It might be all great and dandy, but I'm very against it because when you're watching these shows like Tarek and Christina and the flipping shows and stuff, they're and Selling Sunset, they're not showing you how much work goes into real estate. So that's kind of a big misconception, is it's not just, sit there on your desk and you get a phone call, oh, hey, and then now you have a buyer. No, you have to be putting in the work. You have to be finding your clientele. You have to be prospecting nonstop. So reality TV is and always will be the furthest thing away from reality. So just
it's
when
a
you're watching
glamorization It basically takes the best parts and shows it off as like, oh yeah, look at our cool industry, or look at this cool situation. It sets unrealistic expectations, I think, is really the best way to put it. It just
Yes, it does. It does. And I was fully aware of that, even before I started school for my license. But it's fun to watch, reality TV. You got nothing to do and there's nothing else on TV, turn it on and watch it and watch them fix up the house or something. But
100%.
For consumers watching that, it's just PSA. It's nothing like that. There's much more work behind the scenes. Anything worthwhile takes a lot of work. So just remember that.
Yeah, 100%. Your agents, at the end of the deal, you see that big number at the end where it's like, oh wow, they made so much money commission wise. Well, there was a lot of work that went into it. It's not actually, as big of a payday as some people think it is. They don't realize just how much happens on the back end to actually make that. That might be something that they only get once or twice a month, if that. Maybe they only sell 12 houses a year. So, it's a big number, but there's a lot of work that goes into making it. And at the end of the day, after you pay fees and, licensing, and maybe there's a brokerage split that you have to pay some to the agency that you're at, it's not actually that much at the end of the day for most people.
Yeah. That's the biggest misconception for me coming in was that I had no idea how the commission structure was as a buyer without a license. You saw the end piece of all the costs, and you saw the commissions. You're like, wow, but no, that doesn't just go to the agent. It does get split up in multiple directions. So
yeah, you get multiple pieces of the pie, right? Like same thing with insurance.
Yes.
You get a small percentage of a percentage of a percentage at the end of the day. So you only get a part of it. You're not getting that whole number. So, most people see that and they're like, oh, wow, you made $6,000. Well, when you actually break it up, it's actually closer to like $3,000. I'm giving up part of that commission to be able to work with other people and give you good experience.
Yeah.
100%. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Demi. And if someone wanted to get in contact with you, either to buy a house in this, crazy market, or to sell their house, what's the best way for them to contact you?
The best way to contact me, I have, my Facebook is Demi Grida, and I have an Instagram as well. You can find that Demi Does Real Estate. But the absolute best way to contact me is old-fashioned phone. You can give me, a call on my phone number, which is 484-484-4205, or shoot me a text. Really, any way you're going to contact me, I'm going to get back to you. So no worries there.
Wonderful, wonderful. You can definitely trust to get back from Demi, because she got that communications major. She knows 100% how to get back to people. So, and definitely feel safe in her hands there.
Yes, to me, that's the most important thing, is communicating.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on to the show today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.